The Rhode Island Medical Society was founded on April 22, 1812. It is the 8th oldest state medical society in the nation. It all started in the old State House on Benefit Street in Providence. The General Assembly approved a charter for the Rhode Island Medical Society on February 25, 1812. 8 weeks later, on April 22nd, the organizational meeting took place in the Senate chamber of the old State House. There, the doctors of Rhode Island adopted bylaws and elected the first slate of officers. Their leader that day, and the man they elected as the first president of the Rhode Island Medical Society, was a 75-year-old Revolutionary War veteran named Amos Throop. He had practiced medicine in Providence for 50 years, and he had long dreamed of founding a statewide medical society. Amos Throop's parents were from Bristol, Rhode Island. His father, also named Amos, graduated from Harvard in 1721, taught school in Providence, and then at the age of 25 became pastor of the Congregational Church in Woodstock, Connecticut. Young Pastor Throop was popular with the historically fractious Woodstock congregation, but he died suddenly in September 1735 at the age of 33. His son, Amos Throop, the future founder and the first president of the Rhode Island Medical Society, was born on April 30, 1736, 8 months and 3 weeks after the death of his father. Young Amos went to school in Bristol for a time, and then, when he was still a young boy, he came to Providence and lived in this house with the family of Jabez Bowen. Jabez Bowen was the most prominent doctor in Providence, one of a long line of Bowens who practiced medicine in and around the city in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. For generations, the Bowen name was synonymous with medicine and public service. Amos Throop became a protege of Dr. Bowen and spent his entire adult life practicing medicine in and around Providence. He was married to Mary Crawford in 1768. She was a pharmacist, and together they became quite prosperous. During the Revolutionary War, Amos served the Patriot cause both as a soldier and as a doctor. After the war, the people of Providence elected him to 3 terms in the Rhode Island General Assembly. Amos and Mary Throop lived the last 14 years of their lives in this house at 118 North Main Street. The house was later hoisted up 1 full story, and a larger commercial space was built underneath it at the street level. But 200 years ago, when the Throops were living there, this was one of the most elegant homes in Providence. The street on the south side of the house is one of 2 in Providence that are named in honor of Amos Throop. Amos Throop practiced medicine in Providence for close to 60 years. He was still president of the Rhode Island Medical Society on the day he died, April 13, 1814, a few days shy of his 78th birthday. The entire membership of the Rhode Island Medical Society turned out for his funeral, which took place in St. George's Episcopal Cathedral. Mary Throop died 5 months later. They are buried together in Providence's North Burial Ground. The Medical Society put Rhode Island on the map of American medicine in many ways in the 19th century. In 1820, Dr. Solomon Drone represented Rhode Island at the founding of the U.S. Pharmacopoeia in Washington, D.C. In 1847, Dr. Theophilus Dunn represented the Rhode Island Medical Society and the state of Rhode Island at the founding of the American Medical Association in Philadelphia. In that same year, Butler Hospital opened with Dr. Isaac Ray as its first commissioner. In 1852, the society and its president, Dr. Joseph Moran, put Rhode Island on the forefront of the sanitation movement as the 4th state to gather and publish vital statistics on an annual basis. The Medical Society performed that enormous task statewide for 26 years until 1878, when the Health Department came into being, which was another Medical Society initiative. During the Civil War, society members served and sacrificed in every theater of that conflict. Dr. Francis Wheaton of Providence commanded the largest hospital that has ever stood on Rhode Island soil, the 1,400-bed military hospital at Portsmouth Grove. During the war years, the society joined with the Providence Medical Association to found the state's first general hospital, Rhode Island Hospital, which opened its doors in 1868. In 1872, Rhode Island became the first state society east of the Mississippi to open its membership to women. Anita Ting had previously been turned away by the Massachusetts Medical Society. Said Dr. Dan King of Woonsocket,
"If women choose to dip their delicate fingers in dead men's gore and become skillful anatomists and otherwise qualify themselves for the practice of medicine, we do not refuse to admit them."
In 1896, Rhode Island was among the first, possibly the very first state society to welcome black physicians as members. Dr. Marcus Wheatland became the first radiologist on Aquidneck Island and the 11th president of the National Medical Association. But the grandest day of the Medical Society's first 200 years was June 13, 1912. That was the day the Medical Society opened its library at the corner of Hayes and Francis Street in Providence, right across from the new State House. The building served as the Medical Society's headquarters for 90 years until 2002. For most of the 20th century, it was the premier center for continuing medical education in the state. The Society employed full-time professional librarians and subscribed to some 400 medical periodicals from 29 different countries. The reading room was open to the public 5 days a week. Upstairs, the auditorium could accommodate 250 people, and it was packed with doctors on a weekly basis for clinical lectures. The collection grew to over 50,000 volumes and spanned 5 centuries of medical history. Old, rare medical books were donated by generations of Medical Society members. The oldest volume in the collection was an edition of Pliny's Natural History, published in Venice in 1501. Eventually, as medicine specialized and hospitals developed their own information services, libraries were no longer central to the mission of a modern medical society. The Society gave its entire collection of medical books and instruments to Brown University in 1987.
I think the story of the library is emblematic of the whole history of the Rhode Island Medical Society, in the sense that no organization gets to 200 years, without continually adapting and reinventing itself. But at the same time, there is a fundamental continuity of purpose, and that underlies everything that we do.
It's really the medical society that brings us all together, whether it's hospital-based, private practice, big group, small group, seeing patients, doing administration. This is the place where we can all work together. Really, there's no other entity that can do that but a medical society.
So I came to town in 1979 as a young anesthesiologist. I began my work at the hospital, and when I was in the doctor's lounge, I frequently heard complaints about how hard it was to be a physician in Rhode Island. And I thought to myself, it really isn't going to do us a lot of good to talk to each other. We have to talk to somebody who can do something about it.
I came to Rhode Island in 1968 with the intent of remaining here for about 3 or 4 years. The one thing that attracted me here, when I came here, we had about 4 or 5 outstanding practitioners. Those practitioners, however, were going up to Boston and to the Boston hospitals and interacting and teaching in those. They were involved in the medical society, and of course I joined the medical society when I came here. And that was one of the things that was significant. When I came here, unlike physicians in other communities, they welcomed me, and when I told them I was going to start a teaching program, in dermatology here in Rhode Island. Those people came right in and supported me, left their teaching positions in Boston to join me to help me start the program. And so I feel I owe a lot of whatever success I've had in this region or this community. It started with them.
Medical societies bring together all different specialists for the greater good of physicians in general. And I think that is a very important role that they play.
Preserving those things that are really good, the ethics of medicine that benefits everybody, particularly the patients. That's one of the things that medical societies can do that nobody else can do. There is no other organization of people who takes the values of the medical profession and imbues them into the doctors and fights for them on different levels. And we have to insist that the government respect the professional qualities and values that we have.
I started working with the Medical Society a couple of years ago when an issue came up that affected pediatricians and children. And because of that one particular issue having gone to the legislature, I needed some help in how to work with the legislature, how to work with crafting a bill and testifying for a bill. So as the liaison between my professional society and the medical society, I try and bridge the two and try and bring the benefits of the medical society back to the pediatricians, whether that is in educating the pediatricians about the good work that the medical society does at the State House in terms of legislative advocacy, in terms of helping physicians to run for state political offices and just becoming involved in the process.
There's just many issues that are coming up for medicine in Rhode Island, and the Public Laws Committee is really great at keeping on top of those. Last year I sat in on their legislative planning session, which is a great opportunity to learn more about historically how RIMS has been involved and where the organization wants to go.
I was always impressed what a great voice we had at the AMA meetings. Some of our physician leaders in Rhode Island were very connected on a national level and really influenced policy on a national level. Even though we're a small state, we were very influential on a national level.
We're a small state. We had 2 delegates back the first time I went. We have 1 delegate now. And when our people come to the mic, it's usually with some words of reason. I think RIMS comes across, to me anyway, as a voice of reason. Our people usually have some wise words that try to bring together the divergent views. We do have our own way of making a difference. And certainly on the national scene, we have folks who've gone very far in terms of Mike Migliori on the PAC, and then Peter Holman on the CPT committee. So I think for a small state, we do pretty well.
In the 200 years that the Medical Society's been around, we've been not afraid to challenge authority, to do what we think is best for our physicians and patients.
One of the most pressing problems in my specialty, dermatology, is the rising incidence of melanoma. The only groups who are advocating the regulation of these standing parlors is the medical society and the dermatology community. And I think that's a very good example of what the medical society can do.
Belonging to a society that works in such global ways to help the community actually gives you a sense of satisfaction. And I think that satisfaction is so important to us as physicians. Dick Bertini used to say that all physicians were members of the medical society, but only some paid dues. And I think our younger colleagues, as they come to the community, really need to know how important the medical society is to the medical community and the patient community.
A lot of our public health activities, whether it's tar wars or the bike helmet giveaways, are all things that help patients.
And I've always been very impressed with how willing members are to get involved with things that are of benefit to the community. And specifically, I don't have to go much further than Tar Wars, in the sense that we have had an incredible support from our members over the years to go out and do these educational programs for the fifth graders throughout the state. We estimate now that over 30,000 kids have had the Tar Wars presentation on the health benefits of not smoking, and I think it's really a testament to the members' concern about the community.
So then having the opportunity up here to get involved right away was very attractive for me, and getting to go to the council meetings has been great. Getting to meet physicians from all the various specialties has been really good. I like that kind of collegial aspect to the RIMS Council. And then of course there's all the medical students that are very involved and very, very energetic. So it's really exciting to see that. And just knowing the demands on their time, I think it's great that they carve out the time to do these things, and they always have these great ideas, and just the level of energy that the students have, and the fact that the Medical Society encourages that and is very inclusive, I think is wonderful.
I've had a fantastic time in RIMS, working with the doctors, basically doing both the advocacy stuff as well as the service stuff, which really encompasses what it means to me to be a physician. And now that being a physician is about 20 minutes old, these things are even more important. And, looking forward to being involved in organized medicine, at least in Massachusetts, and hopefully we'll see you all again in Rhode Island.
I think RIMS has given me an opportunity to learn about how to run an organization. I mean, when you're president of the Medical Society, you have wonderful staff, Newell at your side, and then Steve, but you're it. I mean, this year I'm chair of the Board of Regents of a 132,000 member national organization, and a lot of what I do now are things that I adopted back when I was president of the Medical Society. So I think it's done a great thing, not just for Rhode Island medicine, but I think for national medicine as well. And I'm not just talking about myself, but other folks who have gone on. I mean, Dr. Rakitansky chairing the National Ethics Committee for the AMA, for example, and Dr. Lang being involved nationally with pediatrics. My hat's off to RIMS for helping to develop the future leaders of medicine.
RIMS is a very special organization.
I think the future, it's important that all physicians are members
in terms of people's health and supporting physicians' issues. To me, that's most important.
It's absolutely critical, unless you want to be turned into just another commodity and just another interchangeable cog on a wheel that